Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Jaya Madhava Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Bhagavan Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om 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 Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So we're reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 11, Krishna's entrance into Dwarka. We'll read the translations together and we'll come back and read the text. Shuta Goswami said, I'll go around this way, take turns. Shuta Goswami said, upon reaching the border of this most prosperous metropolis, known as the country of the Anarthas, Dwarka, the Lord sounded his auspicious conch shell, heralding his arrival and apparently pacifying the dejection of the inhabitants.
The white and fat bowled conch shell, being gripped by the hand of Lord Sri Krishna and sounded by him, appeared to be reddened by the touch of his continental lips. It seemed that a white swan was playing in the stems of red lotus flowers.
The citizens of Dwarka, having heard that sound which threatens fear personified in the material world, began to run towards him fast, just to have a long-desired audience with the Lord, who is the protector of all devotees.
The citizens arrived before the Lord with their respective presentations, offering them to the fully satisfied and self-sufficient one, who, by his own potency, incessantly supplies others. These presentations were like the offerings of the lamb to the sun. Yet the citizen began to speak in ecstatic language to receive the Lord, just as words welcome their guardian and father.
We'll look at text Sa uchakache dvavalodradaro. Yaru kramasyada shona shonima. Tadamyayamana karakanja sampute. Yatabjakande kalahamsa utsvahanaha. Sa uchakakshe davaladaradara. Yaru kramasya darshana sonima. Tadmaya manaha karakanja sampute. Yatabjakande kalahamsa utsvana.
Sauchakase davalodaro. Yuru kramasya darashona sonima. Yadmayamana karakanja sampute. Yatabja kandhe kalahamsa utsvana.
Read the word for word together. So that Upchaksha became brilliant. Ravala Udara, white and fat bell. Tara, Kansha, Api, although it is so, Urukramasya, of the great adventurer, Adara Shona, by the transcendental quality of his lips. Shonima, reddened. Adamyama, being sounded. Karakanja Sampute, being caught by the grip of the lotus finger. Yata, as it is. Abja Kande, by the stem of the lotus flower. Kalahamsa, ducking swan. Utsvana, translation and purport by His Divine Grace. The white and fat-bowed conch shell, being gripped by the hand of Lord Krishna and sounded by him, appeared to be reddened by the touch of his transcendental lips. It seemed that a white swan was playing in the stems of red lotus flowers. Someone like to read the purport?
redness of the white conch shell due to the lip touch of the Lord is a symbol of spiritual significance. The Lord is all spirit, and matter is ignorance of this spiritual existence. Factually, there is nothing like matter in spiritual enlightenment. And this spiritual enlightenment takes place at once by the contact of the Supreme Lord Shri Krishna. The Lord is present in every particle of all existence, and he can manifest his presence in anyone. By ardent love and devotional service to the Lord, or in other words, by spiritual contact with the Lord, everything becomes spiritually reddened like the conch shell in the grip of the Lord. And the Paramahamsa, or the supremely intelligent person, plays the part of the ducking swan in the water of spiritual bliss, eternally decorated by the lotus flower of the Lord's feet.
So these are really wonderful verses, and it's a lot in here. But several of these purports are quite rich. But this sort of overriding theme is this conch shell. It's talking about these verses, the effect that the conch shell has on inhabitants. And for devotees, it's very encouraging. It enlivens the hearts of the devotees. Interestingly, in the Bhagavad Gita, in the very first 30 pages of the Bhagavad Gita, this conch shell which enlivens the hearts, here at Dwarka, we're hearing how they become so happy when they hear it. Yet others hear it, they're not so happy. So listen to this. I'll just read two quick translations. Then Lord Krishna. This is Krishna and Arjuna. They're preparing for the great battle of Kurukshetra. Then Lord Krishna blew his conch shell called Panchajanya. Arjuna blew his, the Devaprastha, and Bhima, the voracious eater and performer of Herculean tasks, blew his terrific conch shell called Pondra. And he gives a list of all the other warriors blowing their conch shells. And it says, the blowing of these different conch shells became uproarious, thus vibrating both in the sky and on the earth. It shattered the hearts of the sons of Dhritarashtra. So we're going to talk a little bit more about how conch shell and anything, actually any contact with Krishna, here it's describing how the conch became reddened from his lips, enlivens them. But this same sound vibration, the same contact with Krishna, I often think of the image of a lion. A lion has very fearful teeth. And when a mouse or I guess lions don't go after mouse, they go after bigger prey like deer or antelopes. When they see these teeth, they shudder and run the other way because they know what's coming. These teeth represent death. But when the cub sees the teeth, it's very happy because it represents safety. Lion picks up the cub with the teeth and takes it off to the where the safe cub house is, what they call it, the den. Thank you. Take it to the den, and the cub feels very happy because he knows when he's in the teeth of the mother, then he's safe. Same teeth, so are they dangerous or not? Well, to devotees, they're not. So this conch shell to devotees, they hear it, and it's wonderful. It's very soothing. But to non-devotees, it's not a good sound. There's a very famous story you may have heard when the devotees were living with the Beatles. We had a University Merit Club and mentioned Beatles, and some of the students didn't know, but I think most of you probably know who the Beatles are. So Srila Prabhupada and John Lennon invited the devotees to stay, and so they were staying there in one of the caretakers of the land. I don't know if he was a gardener or he took care of the groundskeeper or something. He lived in a building on the edge of the property. And the wife came one day to the devotees very distraught and said, and the devotees could see, what's the matter, what's going on? And she described how they'd been haunted by these sounds, these ghosts of something changed. They would hear at night, they couldn't get any sleep. She was concerned for her husband, he's working all day, couldn't sleep at night because they would hear this change dragging across the attic. Of course, there's no one in the attic, no one lived there. So there was some kind of ghost was inhabiting. And Srila Prabhupada said, just ask them to leave for the day, go out in the morning, don't come back until evening, go in and just take a conch, do kirtan, and blow the conch in every corner of the house, just all day for 6 or 8 hours. Just have kirtan and blow the conch. So they did that. The devotees didn't know what to do, so that's Prabhupada. They were very happy. Okay, so they went and did that. And then they came back, the couple came back, spent the night. Next day, the devotees asked, are you feeling everything okay? They were so happy. They said, I slept all night, not a sound. Thank you so much. And so this conch has this purifying effect. It purifies the atmosphere, purifies the vibrations. That's why it's blown at auspicious times for yajnas, fire sacrifices, ceremonies. It's described how when Krishna and Arjuna blew the conches another way. So when we do arti in the temple, or here we have Yas Puja, you blow the conch and you're declaring war on Maya. You're saying, okay, material energies, you go away. We're doing something sacred. We don't want to be disturbed by anything material. So that's the symbolism, you could say, one of the meanings. Of course, it's physically, it's just purifying, but it's also, it's making a statement, just as Krishna and Arjuna. Okay, this is it. Material energies, you're finished. We're now going to worship Krishna. When that happens, material energies have no place. So it's a very potent, powerful sound vibration. And that's because it's coming from Krishna. It's described in the Vedas are interesting. We accept them, and sometimes they have contradictions and things that you may not understand scientifically. So one of the injunctions in the Vedas is you shouldn't touch the bone of a dead body. It's not clean. If you do, you should wash your hands and cleanse yourself, because generally those things aren't good. But a conch is technically a bone of a dead body, but it's considered sacred. It sits on the altar. In the temple, you'll see a conch right on the altar. It's a sacred bone. So it's a very special thing. But when it comes in contact with Krishna, it becomes even more special. And it's described, this phenomenon is described here in this purport that we just read. A couple of things that jumped out at me. The Lord is present in every particle of all existence. So when we stop and think about that, sometimes we feel separated from Krishna. We feel like he's very far away when we're stuck down here in the material energies. But actually, he's not far away. He's living in our heart. He's in every particle. But we've forgotten him. And if we look at it, if we examine it kind of logically or scientifically, I don't know if it's scientific, but certainly logical, everything emanates from Krishna. Krishna is the origin of all energies, material and spiritual. So if a material energy is emanating from Krishna, then that material energy can't really be material. It's one of his energies. It looks material when we disconnect Krishna from it. But when we realize it's connected to him, then it loses that material quality. That actually material energy, the energy that drags us down, if you go and clean your house, make it sparkling, close all the doors and close all the windows and leave for 6 months, and come back, there'll be dust. Well, how can there be dust? Nobody was here, nobody did anything. It's been sealed, and I cleaned it. Because the nature of the material world is to deteriorate. It's just what it does, it gets dirty. And that's because we forget and it becomes separated. But when we connect it and see everything is in the service of Krishna. We mentioned before the example of an iron rod. You take an iron rod, cold hard steel, you put it in a fire, you leave it there long enough, you pull it out, you touch it to some paper, what happens? Paper ignites. Why? Because the iron rod is not iron anymore, it's fire. You've turned iron into fire. Now that fire touches something and it'll burn. So in the same way, Krishna, when he touches something or can come in contact with him in any way, it becomes spiritualized. And so that's what's happening here with the conch and this vibration. And so these residents of Dwarka are hearing this vibration and they become enlivened. Because yes, this is Krishna's energy. And so that's our whole, you could say, duty in life, or the goal of our life, is to become spiritualized, to remember this isn't just dull matter. It's only dull matter because it's not being engaged in the service of Krishna. It's an iron rod sitting out on the ground. But if we pick it up and put it in the fire, it becomes spiritualized. So if we take our thoughts and our activities and our desires in our life and we connect it to Krishna, then it becomes fire, it becomes spiritualized, it becomes enlivened. And it's very, very potent. And of course, in this age, the holy name is the most potent way to do that. There's a nice statement in the last verse, verse 5 in the purport. Prabhupada mentions they have this word vital in italics, right? The Lord is the supreme Father of all living beings, and therefore those who are conscious of this vital relation with God can make filial demands from the Father, and the Father is pleased to supply the demands of such obedient sons without bargaining. So this is the relationship. So although on one level it's very purifying and potent and enlivening, we hear the Conch, we hear talk of Krishna, we remember Krishna, we think of him, we worship him, and those activities enliven us and make us happy. But we can take that deeper and then not just be enlivened, but engage in a relationship with him. Here's described Father. Prabhupada uses father in the traditional sense of a healthy family home where there's a nice relationship. And in America, sometimes people grew up and maybe the relationship with the father wasn't so great, because in Kali Yuga, some fathers are behaving as a father, and so that concept is not always helpful. But generally, the idea of a father is good. He's a protector, he gives shelter, he takes care. And Krishna is our Father. So first we can become enlivened, we become spiritualized by coming in contact with him. And it describes in one of these purports, either this one or the one before, how if you take a lamp and offer it to the sun. So in India, you'll see people, they'll go to the Ganges, they'll take some water and offer it to the Ganges as a form of offering. Or you'll take a lamp and offer it to the sun. And if you look at it from a material perspective, it's kind of silly, right? The sun doesn't need this little lamp. Fire comes from the sun. So you're giving it something that you got the fire from the sun. Or in the case of the Ganges, the water, it's Ganges water and you're offering it. So you're offering it something it already has. It doesn't really need it. Why is that beneficial? Here's something you don't need, and it's like, were you supposed to be happy? Somebody's giving you something you don't need. It doesn't make sense logically. But we used the example before of, I think I mentioned it probably at least once, maybe more, the 7-year-old girl making a cake for her father. Did I ever use that analogy? The girl wants to make a cake for her father because it's his birthday. And so she goes to mama and says, well, I want to make a cake. So what happens? Girl goes in the kitchen, mother comes in the kitchen, they get the bread, they get the flour and the sugar and all the ingredients in the kitchen, which the father paid for. And the mother makes the cake because the 7-year-old girl doesn't know how to make a cake. But the mother lets her help, and she stirs and makes a mess. It gets flour everywhere. And thus, so a cake gets made with a little help from the daughter, but mostly the mother. And it gets baked and it gets cooked, and the father comes home and she offers him this cake. Now, all the ingredients of the cake, the stove, the house, the flour, the sugar, everything the father paid for, all the effort that went into the cake, most of it was from the mother. So the daughter is offering this cake to the father, and what does he do? Say, well, thank you, but you didn't really do that much. Right? No, his heart melts. He's like, oh, she's giving me a cake. Well, the cake is just a vehicle. It's just a wrapper. It's a way for the daughter to express her love with the father. He's happy. He's not thinking who paid for the flour. He's not thinking who made the cake. He's thinking, oh, my daughter is giving me her love. So this is the mood of this, offering a lamp to the sun or offering the Ganges to the water to the Ganges. We offer anything, whatever we have. I was out in California last week, a couple of weeks ago, and they asked me to speak, and I gave a talk about Christ and the Bhagavad Gita. It's the Christmas in the Bhagavad Gita. I don't know how I got on that topic. I guess it was Christmas time. But anyway, I won't give you the whole class because there's no point in that. It's no time for that. But I mentioned in there a story that's really dear to my heart of this, that it captures the same mood of this little girl. And you probably all heard it, most, if not, you can look it up. There's different renditions of it, but find a good one called The Little Drummer Boy. Anyone familiar with The Little Drummer Boy? It's this boy. So Christ is born, and the kings are coming and giving him, you know, incense and gold and myrrh and all valuable gifts. And this little boy comes, and he's poor. He doesn't have anything to give. Here's this baby Jesus. He's, you know, the very sacred, holy personality, and I should give him something. What do I have to give? So the very short song is very sweet, but basically says, well, I don't have anything to give, but I have a drum, and can I play a song for you? So Mother Mary nods, yes, it's okay. And so he plays best he can. Plays this. Me and my drum. So he just plays, and the baby Jesus opens his eyes and smiles. So he's giving his bhakti. He doesn't have anything to offer materially, but he has one thing. He has is something that's dear to him, is his talent and his love for the drum. So he offers that to the Lord. Here's what I have. It's the only thing I have, but please accept it. And this is what Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita: offer me anything, a fruit, a leaf, a flower. Because what we're actually offering, and we talked about this I think last time, it's not the flower or the drum or the leaf or the cake, it's the love. Krishna is greedy for that love. He thrives off of it. He loves it. So when we find any way that we can package that love and give it to him, then it makes him very happy. And it makes us very happy because we're part and parcel. But it goes even deeper than that. It becomes, for devotees, it becomes a little bit of a, you could say, a transcendental competition. The devotees don't want anything from Krishna. They just want to give him their love. And Krishna says, well, that's not fair. I'm going to give you my love, and I can give you my love better. And the devotees say, yes, no, I can. So they become, I shouldn't say better, but it becomes to where there's a nice verse that describes it. I don't know where it is, but it describes Krishna is so beautiful. When you look at him, when devotees look at him and they see him, they just become happy because he's just so beautiful. You can't not become happy. And when Krishna sees their happiness, he becomes more beautiful. And then they see more beauty and then they become even happier. And then he sees their happiness, so then he becomes even more effulgent. And this goes on eternally. How that works, I don't know. How something can, it's already at its peak, and it just gets peaker. It just gets better. So this is the relationship. The devotees are just, they're not looking for Krishna's love. The pure mood of a devotee, and it's very exalted, and it may feel a little bit out of reach, but it's important to understand the concept that for Srimati Radharani or the gopis or pure devotees, they're not concerned with their happiness. They're concerned with Krishna's happiness. If I can make him happy, if making him happy causes me some difficulty, that difficulty is my happiness. Because he's happy, then I'm happy. And you can all experience that. When we do something that makes Krishna happy, you do that once in your life, and you feel a happiness, and then you become addicted. You say, okay, I want that feeling. What else can I do? And so this is, I don't know how I got on that topic from the Conch cell, but this is the result of putting this iron in the rod of contacting. When we hear, whether it's a conch shell or Krishna's flute, it's described that Krishna's playing his flute, his life force is coming out his lips through the flute, and when it gets to the material world, it manifests as the holy name. So this sound vibration, it's another form of that transcendental energy of the Lord. It's very, very enlivening. And fear personified, I guess I'll end on this point and we can have discussion. It mentions in, I think it was text 2 or text 3. Having heard the citizen Dorking, having heard that sound which threatens fear personified. So this is the potency of Krishna's conch shell. It threatens fear personified. So that fear, we only experience that fear when we have forgotten Krishna. And for devotees, when they hear this conch or any spiritual vibration, harinam, lectures, glorifying, chanting, kirtan, and they remember Krishna, they become very, very happy. And all this fear runs in the opposite direction. So those are a few thoughts that struck me when reading these verses and these purports. It's just the potency of connecting with Krishna in any way. And it doesn't, whether it's direct or indirect, it's very, very powerful. It's very, very potent, and it will change your life and your heart and your vision forever. So anyway, those are a few thoughts I had. I guess I want to see if anyone else has some questions or thoughts or comments. Yes.
I just found this name in the word to word to be really beautiful. I think it's Krishna's name. Yeah. Great adventure. I think it's a Krishna, right?
I think so. I'm not familiar with the Sanskrit root of it, but yeah, it sounds like it is. Oh, Sanskrit on up to know the root at the victim part. From supernatural activities. This reminds me of Shamasundar, or the original Shamasundar who went to London. He describes Prabhupada as it's just always an adventure. You never know. Any day you walk in his room, you never know what he's going to say, what he's going to do, what adventure you're going to go on next. It's a great adventure. Can't predict. There's another phrase in here too that was mentioned. I think it was in text. No, actually, it was the one we read, text 2. The ardent love and devotional service to the Lord, or in other words, by spiritual contact with the Lord, everything becomes spiritually reddened, like the conch shell in the grip of the Lord. We talked about that. And the Paramahamsa, or supremely intelligent person, plays the part of the ducking swan in the water of spiritual bliss, really decorated by the lotus flower of the Lord's feet. So this term Paramahamsa is kind of fascinating. Paramahamsa swan, Hamsa swan, Parama is like great, greatest of great. Paramahamsa swan is a swan that can take a mixture of milk and water and accept the milk and leave the water behind. If you've ever tried to do that, I can't understand how it's even possible. But that's what a Paramahamsa. So Prabhupada uses that word in different places, meaning devotees are Paramahamsas. He describes that they'll go and they'll accept those good things from a place and just leave behind the things that are not so valuable. I think there's a verse in the Bible, something about accepting gold. Wise person, or maybe that's I grew up as a Christian, so I have all these biblical references. But you can accept gold from a filthy place. But it doesn't matter, so we can see things, oh, this is valuable, this is not. So we can, the point is you make that distinctions and you can accept one without accepting anything else. So this is what devotees do. They're always looking for signs of Krishna's presence, or they're looking how to inject Krishna's presence in the situation. Yeah. I don't know if you had a question about that, or if I kind of cut you off.
No, it wasn't a question, it was just a comment. I didn't know about the game, I read it. I read the report. I was just thinking, Krishna's the great adventurer, and then the Bhagavatam is like the treasure map, and it teaches us how to find the globe.
Yeah, very good. Very good. Yeah. Yes.
Thank you so much for such a wonderful class.
Actually, your class was just making me think about the mercy of Lord Chaitanya, because you told that story of the conch shell, right? And how the conch shell, it's auspicious, but it drives away inauspicious. And similarly, Krishna, Lord Krishna, he came to this earth, and people who had bhakti, they saw him as Krishna and they ran to him with pure devotional service. But then other people, didn't recognize that Krishna was God, or even hated him, and wanted to destroy him. And then Krishna reciprocated with them, still, of course, for their benefit. But then Lord Chaitanya, and Nrsingadev, right? Prabhupada gives that example of like the lion and the cub of the lion, right? So like the lion is very scary, but then the cub takes shelter in the lioness. So, but for Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda, they're just giving mercy to everyone. They're Jai Shishikonitai. They're just running after all of us, even with absolutely no qualification. So no matter how, far away we are, we can always turn to Lord Chaitanya.
Yeah, it's a really good point. And it's really amazing as you study, if you go very deep into the teachings of Lord Chaitanya, you understand his philosophy. He has the highest spiritual nectar there is. Lord Chaitanya gives that. And he doesn't look for people qualified to give it. He goes and looks for anybody to give. Generally, if you have something valuable, you don't give it to someone give it to someone who can appreciate it, who's qualified. But Lord Chaitanya doesn't do that. He's looking for it. Jagan Madai, right? Nityananda, Haridas Thakur thought that he was crazy. You're crazy. Let's go talk to Jagan Madai. Let's get them to chant. Haridas Thakur was like, you're insane. And Nityananda, no, come on. And so they go, and the most unqualified people in that time. So that's a really good point, that Krishna he's so hungry for our love that he's constantly trying to find ways to insert himself into our life so that we'll reciprocate with him. He loves us more than we love him. It's a great example too. Lord Chaitanya is the epitome of that mercy. And it extends when you look at the cyclic succession, Lord Chaitanya, and it comes down to Prabhupada, and we have Srila Prabhupada, and here we are today with people still. Kalkanti Prabhu writing these wonderful books to help us understand these very elevated, arcane subject matter in Sanskrit, which is sometimes hard to access, and he makes it like, well, here, just don't worry about Sanskrit. Just read this English poem, read this song, and get entry into the spiritual abode system. So it continues. It's not that what Chaitanya did or what Krishna did, we don't have access to. It's still happened with Srila Prabhupada a few years ago. It's happening today with his devotees. So it's an amazing phenomenon. Anyone else? Thoughts, corrections, questions?
To me how you said how Krishna, the lion example, how the teeth of the lion is death for several animals, but the teeth of the lion for the cub. The mother's ears, I think that's inside of the mother. I was just thinking about, if depending on our relationship, we see Krishna in certain ways. And I was thinking of this one time when Indra Maharaj writes about it in his diaries. He was in a plane, and I think it was he was in a plane, and he was next to this other guy wearing a suit, and so Maharaj sat down and then the plane went through a lot of turbulence, and Maharaj, he started chanting japa like really, really. and the other person was just panicking. And so it's like kind of makes me think of, Krishna comes. Prabhupada talks about how for the regular folks, Krishna comes as death, but for the devotee, they take shelter of Krishna, and Krishna appears in that form. It's just a change of body. But then after the turbulence, the person was like, you were so calm and composed during the whole thing. Yeah, turbulence went away. And he was so calm and composed, like he was like, what were you chanting? What were you saying? Like, what prayer were they telling me everything about it? And it's just with the whole line example, made me think of that story. There's more details that I wish I could remember, but that was the gist of it.
Yeah, that's a nice story. Brings to mind Prahlad, Bhakti Prahlad Maharaj. His father was he was throwing him in pits of snakes and off the cliffs and basically trying to kill him, and he saw it as Krishna's embracing. So this is what a devotee sees everything as Krishna. Well, I don't hear it as much now as I used to, but when I first became a devotee, you would hear the phrase Krishna's mercy a lot in terms of something bad would happen, you suffer something, anything from stubbing your toe to a car accident, whatever, anything bad would happen. Oh, it's Krishna's mercy. How is this Krishna's mercy? This is a really good thing. But devotees see everything that happens as being connected directly and connected to Krishna. And for sending me the situation that we accepted. And when we train our mind to see it that way, and we can learn a lot of valuable lessons. What is Krishna teaching? What is this? It looks like difficulty. There's a really nice story, event that happened, and it was very instructive for me because I worked many years in the corporate world, and sometimes it's just like, why am I here? This is just insane. What am I doing? And there was a time when, I don't remember who it was, I think it was Bhakti Sri Damodar, came to Srila Prabhupada. I'm not sure if it was him, but somebody came to him and he had a responsibility. This devotee had a responsibility for his area, and he was becoming overwhelmed with just management headaches and problems. And he said, Prabhupada, I don't know how you do it. I have this situation and it's just really overwhelming me. It's disturbing my chanting. It's disturbing my sadhana. I don't know how to deal with it. And you have the whole world. You're writing these books. So many temples. You have centers all over the world. You're managing. How do you manage all these problems without it affecting you? I have this one problem and it's just really throwing me off base. How do you do it? Prabhupada said, problems. I don't see problems. I don't have any problems. I just have a lot of opportunities to render service to my spiritual master. So he's not looking at it as a problem. You hear this in the corporate world also. You hear it in different training seminars, but it's not problems, it's a challenge. But in this case, this goes a little deeper. So this situation is an opportunity for me to serve my spiritual master by pushing on this movement. And so therefore he never became discouraged. So that's kind of an offshoot of the same thing, whether it's turbulence or whatever so-called negative thing is happening. It's like, okay, Krishna, why is this happening? It may have been Krishna arranged for this turbulence so that this person could get an association with Energy Swami and get some realization, wow, here's how a spiritual person handles this thing. I'm freaking out and he's so calm. So we may think Krishna's putting me in this difficult situation, but just try to say, well, why? Okay, Krishna, what am I here to learn? I'm here. Everything is one of two things. Either I'm here to learn, I need to learn something from this, or it's for me to give someone else something. What is it? And then we can get more connected with Krishna. Yes. Okay.
There was this March, Devaprastha March. He was flying once, and he was with one of his disciples, Devaprastha. And so Devaprastha was telling me the story how same thing, like it was going on, and then there was turbulence. And when that started happening, Mars started chanting. The disciple kind of started freaking out a bit, and but he was thinking, he was like, Krishna, yeah, I will chant. And he was like, I don't want to die by drowning in the waters. It's just any other way. just don't want to drown. But then, yeah, it was just funny. Yes, I mean, it's not similar to the other one. And but then you look at his homework and good job. And then at one point, Marge kind of reached out during the turbulence, and they have those sign papers or whatever, those manuals for emergencies. They pulled one of those out, so then the disciples started freaking out again. Marge kept chanting, so I was like, okay, I'm gonna be chanting this. That was just funny. He was like, because he was thinking, no, actually, what he was thinking, the disciple was like, I'm ready to die, and I'll chant, like Marge chanting, I'll chant, but I don't want to drown. I don't want to go that way.
As long as we're on the topic of plane starts, there's one happened with Srila Prabhupada where I don't know who was with them and where they were going, but the plane dropped like, I don't know how many feet, 50, 500, far enough to where you could feel, oh, the plane's going down, not forward. Prabhupada was just completely oblivious. Not oblivious, he was aware of it, but unaffected. And then the devotee was disturbed in it. Cut off, the devotees will leave. But yes, we are prepared to die at any moment. And I said that close before, but now I think I'm really well. One last thing here before. The reason we get attached, we have this emotional attachment to the body. This came up in a recent class by His Holiness Bhaktivedanta Swami. He said when we form a deep attachment with Krishna and we develop that relationship emotionally, we lose our attachment to the body. We are attached to the body because it gives us some comfort, some emotional comfort. But when we strengthen it, when we develop, I mean, the relationship's already there. So when we develop that a strong relationship with Krishna, all of our emotional needs are met and we're satisfied. So then our attachment to anything material, including our body, it just fades away because I don't need this. I have what I need. So anyway, I'll stop there because now I'm definitely going to the next one. Shri Bhagavatam ki jai, Shri Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai